Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So we are here for another one of our mass making sessions. I thought what we could do is mass make some of these pockets that my son made that I'd kind of done a tutorial on. I did say in the tutorial that I would come on and do some in a mass make, so today's the day. So if you want to make some of these, what you're going to need is some book pages. So I've just brought along, you know, a bunch of book pages there from a Reader's Digest book. And then what I've done is brought along a load of printables printed onto copy paper so that they're not sort of too stiff, too thick. So I've got a whole range here again of sort of colours and things like that. I've got some odds and pieces to maybe decorate one. And of course, being my desk, I'm certainly not short of things to decorate with. So, yep, I think that's all you're going to need. You're going to obviously need your glue and your scissors. Yeah, I think that's probably it. If you want to sew around yours, of course you can do that. But, you know, as per the norm really, I don't have my sewing machine to hand or anything. So my method is just going to be gluing. Okay, so let's just crack straight on, and I will talk you through again making one or two. Apologies if you already saw the tutorial and you are comfortable and kind of know what you're doing, but I will talk you through for those people who don't know, and you know, then we'll sort of get into it and relax into it, and I will be quiet and not talk anymore. Well, I will talk, but not about what we're doing. So if you watched my previous tutorial, what you're going to need per one of these pockets really is 3 book pages. And what you're going to do, I'm going to just leave them attached where I've pulled them out, merely because that kind of stops them moving around and things. So it's sort of quite easy to handle when they're still attached. So what I'm going to do is tear down slightly my first 2. And I'm going to not detach, but, you know, tear them away from each other slightly, but they're still attached at the bottom. Again, that's just for sort of ease, really. Now, what I'm going to do here is literally fold my first pocket in like that. And as you can see, I've folded it in, you know, not right at the thingamajiggly, you know, the edge. And then what I'm going to do with that first one, I've just folded it in to get my shape, and then I'm going to fold it in going the other way like that. And then I'm going to take my next one and fold that running along so they're sort of at the same angle, if that makes sense. And then what I'm going to do, in my tutorial, I'm pretty sure I left this outways, but you can obviously fold it inways like that, so you've got them, you know, 2 like that. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of had them this way round because I was kind of going by my son's. So we'll make sort of a couple of different ones and, you know, have a play around and see what we like best. So I'm just going to glue this down there like that. I mean, these are a really great way of using up your book pages because obviously, you know, you're using 3 book pages per pocket, so you know, they're pretty good for actually getting rid of quite a bit of stash. So I'm just going to glue that like that. Oops, already knocked my blending tool on the floor, so that's not great. Now what then I'm going to do, and I'm, you know, I'm not kind of being fussy or anything, but I've just brought along some background pages which are printed onto copy paper, so I'm just going to just chop that down just so it's easier to handle here. And then I might have that one in there. I really wanted to get those flowers in. What an idiot. I should have Should have cut it slightly further over, but never mind. Could have it upside down, or not upside down, but you know, sideways on. Oh, I don't mind that actually. I thought it might look really terrible, but I don't mind it. So let's just chop that down here. So what I'm going to do here is glue this in, which obviously not only kind of adds a bit to the durability, because obviously you're then thickening up your back page, which effectively is otherwise just literally a book page, but you're adding some pretty pattern to it as well. So if you didn't want to do that and you wanted to keep your pieces more neutral, you could just glue 2 book pages together, and that way, you know, you haven't had to use any patterned papers at all, and they're completely then plain for any projects that you might want to use the pockets in, if that makes sense. So that's the first one, like that. And then what I'm going to do is glue this down like that. So just going to glue the first one down. Now it's up to you how long you want your page. Obviously these are like a full book page, so what I might do is glue it sort of roughly, hopefully you can see, you know where the text ends, so that I will then trim it round and make it slightly smaller than the full book page. But I still do want these pretty huge, you know, because obviously they're, you know, we're making a different style of pocket, and if I obviously made them just half size or whatever, they wouldn't, I guess, be very different to anything we've made previously. So you know, I think they're quite nice to have as a large pocket. And then again, just flip that over like that. Okay, and then just press the glue down. Now I'm going to tear that away now from that book page. Oops. And then what I'm going to do is trim it at the bottom. So we glued it approximately, you know, at the bottom of the text. So we're just going to trim it along there. Obviously, as you can see, I've got my patterned paper sort of overhanging slightly, so we can just neaten that up a little bit as well, like that. And then again along the top, I'm just going to neaten that up a bit more, like that. And then it's up to you if you wanted to trim yours down. So I might just trim mine down slightly here at the side. Now I'm hoping that my glue is still holding, but it, you know, obviously depends kind of where you've glued really. Now at this point, I last time popped some decorative paper down here so that I could then, sorry, I've got pieces of paper stuck literally all over me. Right, so that I could, you know, decorate the bottom of the pocket. And then I really don't know why it hadn't even occurred to me to do this, but somebody commented and said, of course, you know, you could make this another pocket at the bottom. Now, why that hadn't even occurred to me, I have no idea, but what a genius idea. So this time round, what I'm going to do is just take this page here and I'm just going to fold it over. Try and get it a bit straight, I suppose. It's near on impossible because obviously I haven't started with a straight piece in the first place. So let's just trim that down. Okay, and then I'm just going to trim it here like that. And we'll just trim it here a little bit. Okay, and then we can obviously glue this down. In fact, I think what's going to be easier in this particular thing is if we glue it straight onto here, and then we know exactly where to double it up. So I'm going to pop that down like that. Oops. Now, I have to say, I mean, you know, I have a memory like a sieve. So I couldn't even remember how to actually make these without re-watching my video. And, you know, of course, re-watching it, I kind of thought, oh, they look awful. They look really very complicated and bitty to make. Which, wow, you know, how off-putting. I mean, I cannot bear doing anything that's fiddly or complicated. So, yeah, I do apologise for the original tutorial. And I'm hoping that by mass making a couple or a few, it will demystify and hopefully come across a little bit more straightforward, because I promise you, you know, I do not do anything that's difficult. So difficult or fiddly or tricky or anything else. So if I'm doing it, I promise you this is, you know, dead simple. But yeah, my method was obviously just a little bit confusing in the last one. So now we have another pocket there, which is just awesome, isn't it? And then you can go to the sewing machine and obviously just stitch all around the outside, and you've got a pocket here, a pocket here, and a pocket down there, which is just so cool, isn't it? I haven't made a particularly good job of trimming this down, I have to say, so I need to really tidy it up, but hopefully you kind of get the idea. So I will make another one and you know, talk you through again the process, and then hopefully we'll, or you know, I can then be quiet and do a couple more. So again, I'm taking my 3 sheets, so 1, 2, 3. Again, I'm leaving them attached to here. That's not essential. I'm literally doing that because it kind of makes it slightly easier for working with it, you know, when it's actually just still stuck. And then I'm going to fold it in here. Oh, look, got two pages there. So, right, fold it in there. And then I'm going to have it tucked in the other way round. So I might as well just glue that down straight away, and then that's done, and I don't need to worry about doing anything more with that. Okay. That's it. And then we're going to take our next one. And again, you know, we're just using this as a guide for where to fold it, because it's obviously then in line with this piece, if that makes sense. So what I might do this time is actually fold it this way over, like that, because we're going to have that pocket there anyway. So I'm just, again, gluing that down. Like that. Okay, like that. So again, then I'm just going to take some paper, and I mean, I'm not being fussy or anything, I'm just grabbing the next piece that I've got, you know, in my lap. So this is some of my trellis birds paper, and all I'm going to do is glue this down. Now again, I will probably glue this, trim this pocket down, so I'm just going to kind of put my glue sort of near the text, if that makes sense, so that, I mean, I do want this to be a huge pocket, but not probably right to the full size of the book page. So I would just pop that down there, like that. Spread the glue like that, and then I'm just going to then glue this one down. So again, you know, I may want to trim this down to where that text is. So bearing that in mind, I'm just running some glue there. Okay. So glue that like that. And then the final pocket, I'm just going to again take that in like that, across there, and then, you know, across there. And that's it. Oops, we're going to just dab that off. Okay. Okie dokie, and then we can obviously take the whole lot and, you know, detach it from the book now, like that. And then what we'll do is we'll just trim it down here in the first instance, so that I make it slightly smaller to work with, because it just helps to make it a bit more manageable really once it's a smaller piece. And then what I will do is trim it down now, you know, more to the size that we want it. So I'm going to trim it off roughly at the line of the text. And obviously as well, this is going to depend on the book you're using, because I mean some books have those really huge margins and just a very small section of text in the middle. You know, so you might have that kind of scenario going on. So just play around with, you know, what suits the book that you're using and how you want it all to look. So just come down there like that. Okay, and again, going by that lovely idea, I wish that I could remember who it was who actually said about the bottom pocket, because of course, what a fantastic idea. And then I'm just going to make my bottom pocket there. So again, you know, depending on the paper that you're using, may depend on how you position your pocket. So this one here, going to try not to have so much of that black frame. So I'm just going to again trim that down. Like that. Just makes it easier to handle. And then again, what I'm going to do is just pop it where I want to glue it, and then I will glue it together once it's in place. Now that for me is an easier way to do it. Oops. But I'm not saying that that's how you have to do it. It's just for me, once that's in place, I know then exactly where to run my glue in here to glue my two pieces together, and I would rather do it that way and then trim it down. I have to say, I think that I'm in maybe the the minority in doing that, because most people I notice, they are much more accurate and they kind of cut their pockets to size before even gluing them down. You know, and I'm always just a little bit in awe of those people who can do that, because if I did that, I would have cut it completely the wrong size. So for me, it's just easier to stick it in place and then trim it down, because then I know that it's the right size. You know, if I had cut it, the odds are I was going to have cut that then too small, and it wouldn't then fit on my page at all. So, you know, but do it how suits you. Now I'm just going to trim across the top slightly there, like that. Okay. So again, you could then obviously stitch all around the edge of your pieces there. Again, I don't think I've made a very good cutting job there. You can just see this big sort of corner like sticking out. So just trim that in slightly. Now, the other thing that you can do, because these are really big pockets, and so you may like to use these as floating pockets and just paper clip them on rather than stick them in, you can always cover the back in just some coffee dyed paper. You know, I mean, this is obviously quite thick card, but you could just place some coffee dyed paper over the back, and then it would be your floating pocket with journaling space on the back. So, you know, play around and see what suits you, but that's just another little idea there. So that's our two pockets that we've done so far. Now what I should probably do is check that I'm filming, that I'm in frame, and I'm not just sat here waffling on to myself. Okay, so far so good. Right, we're 20 minutes in already, would you believe? So I'm going to stop talking through now quite so much what we're doing, because, you know, I'm sure you don't kind of need me waffling on so much. But just a quick note, actually, before I do. I mean, obviously there's pictures in this book, but that's absolutely fine because my decorative paper is going to go over the back. And on this one, that's going to be my folded in pocket. So that's then hiding that picture completely like that. Okay, so don't be deterred if you think, oh, you know, my book's got pictures, because if you've got text on this side, if that makes sense, then that's still going to be fine, because you can cover up the pictures on the other side. I'm not making a very good job of this one, I have to say. Right, so I will stop waffling on now about the process, because I'm sure that, you know, I've waffled on enough, and I'm sure it's all now clear how to do them, and I don't need to now be going on and on and on about it. So I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you all had a nice weekend. The weather was, well, just ridiculous here at the weekend. So on Sunday, I'm just looking through my papers that I've got here on my lap, deciding which paper to use. On Sunday, it was just the most weird day, because honestly, it kind of looked like it was going to be really nice. And my son said, oh, it looks like a really nice day, you know. And actually, to be fair, I don't think there was rain forecast or anything like that. So, I mean, it was looking like it was going to be a nice day. And he said, oh, yeah, you know, it looks like a really nice day. Shall we go for a walk on the beach? So I said, oh, yeah, you know, nice. Well, what a joke, because I'm not kidding. Literally, we parked sort of down the road to the beach and we're walking down there. And as we were heading there, I said to him, oh, my gosh, you know, can you see that huge black cloud that's just literally heading for where we're walking, you know, right to the beach? And it started kind of blowing up and getting really windy, which was so weird, because as we'd kind of left the house, you know, we obviously had to drive to the beach. We don't live right on the beach or anything. But as we left the house, it was, you know, really quite nice sunshine. I mean, it was, of course, it was very cold, but, you know, it looked like it was going to be shaping up to be a really lovely day. And the sunshine felt really warm on your back. And yeah, it was just lovely. And I'm not kidding, the second we were walking to that beach, it was like getting colder and colder and colder and colder. So we persevered, because obviously that was, you know, that was our plan of let's go and have our sort of picnic on the beach. Well, I'm not kidding. The second we got there, you could see, you know, when you can see like the rain over the other side kind of thing, we could see just rain chucking it down, like not very far from us, you know, through the sky kind of thing, where you can see those, what do they call that? Oh, you know, like the rods of rain, I don't know. Anyway, we could see that, and it was freezing, absolutely freezing, and so windy. So we were just like, should we not bother? I couldn't even bring myself to get our picnic out of the bag. It was like, oh gosh, who wants to sit and have a picnic here? So it was just my son and my daughter and myself. So my daughter was also, you know, she absolutely loves the beach. It's her like all-time favourite place. But even she was like, oh, it's freezing, you know, no, let's not stay here. So yeah, we packed up our stuff again. Well, we hadn't even got it out. We literally had sat there saying, oh, what should we do? What should we do? You know. So, yeah, we then went back to the car, got back in, and we just drove to, you know, a car park like further down, and had like a car picnic. And again, it was really bizarre because we got to the other car park, you know, and had our car picnic. And then, really oddly, the sun came out, it all cleared up, it looked gorgeous again, and it was like, oh, this is lovely again now, you know. And by the time we'd finished our lunch, it was hailstoning and just absolutely horrible again. So we sat there for a bit longer. I'd taken a flask with some hot chocolate, so I had my flask, and then we stayed there for a little bit longer, and then it cleared up, so we got back out and you know, went for a little walk, just, you know, just a small walk, so that we had some fresh air. But it was just like really odd, the way it was just so changeable, you know. 1 minute it was like looking like this really lovely day, and honestly the next minute it was, well, literally hailstones, and just yeah, just really bizarre. So then we left there. So it had been a bit of a silly day, and then we went to where there's like a duck pond and just fed some ducks who, sorry, I'm just putting my rubbish in my carrier bag beside me, that's my rubbish bin. Went and fed some ducks. I have to say, they didn't seem like they were hungry either, so that was like a bit of a waste of time. So yeah, they were snubbing the bread. So it was just one of those days. One of those days where you just think, wow, everything we've gone to do has just been a bit of a waste of time, really. Even the ducks didn't want the bread that we were giving them. Just very silly. Okay. Right. Okay. I can't remember Saturday, whether Saturday was similar weather, to be honest. Yeah, I actually can't remember, I'm afraid. So just memory like a sieve. I mean, the time just flies by so quickly, doesn't it? But you know, it's hard keeping track of things. But oops, there we go. Okay. Right. And I noticed that there's a new series of MasterChef has come on. Well, I think it's a new series. I've only just seen it anyway. I mean, again, I assume that people can get that on that BritBox thing. So I don't know whether, you know, other people really watch MasterChef, but I mean, some of those people, you know, they're obviously, I mean, they do have MasterChef professionals, but this, I think, is MasterChef just like the amateurs. And wow, their cooking skills are just unbelievable sometimes. Anyway, there's this chap on there at the moment, and oh, he just has this really interesting kind of eclectic way of cooking. So the other day he made, I think it was like a chickpea loaf thing. Again, I was like on my laptop, so I wasn't properly watching, I have to confess, but I don't know whether he made that from like tin of chickpeas or, you know, chickpea flour, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, he made this chickpea loaf thing, which looked really great. And again, I don't know whether it was that he'd used turmeric in it or whether he had, you know, whether it was the chickpea effect. I'm not really sure, but oh, it looked really lovely, but it was all yellow and, you know, gorgeous colours. And then he made, I think he made a curry, but using jackfruit. Now, I've had a few things using, you know, made with jackfruit. I haven't ever bought a jackfruit. I don't even know if I've ever seen a jackfruit, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, I'm not really too sure whether I have. But he made this jackfruit curry, which had like a shredded pork kind of texture to it. And the only reason that I thought, oh, maybe that's the same as something else I've had, is because my son and I, we really like these pulled pork style vegan burgers from a shop called Iceland over here. They're really yummy, but they're so meaty in their texture that honestly, at first you're like, really? Is this, you know, is this really not meat? Because they taste really, you know, just like, I mean, I've never had pulled pork, but just like I imagine pulled pork would taste. Or, you know, I don't know about taste, but the texture. And so, yeah, it was only when I saw his curry that I thought, oh, I bet that's what they're made from. Because they have got this very similar texture to what his curry had. So, yeah, but it just looked lovely because when he obviously bought his food out, he had like the gorgeous colours from the this chickpea flour stuff that he had used. And, well, I assume that's what was giving it the colour anyway. But, yeah, so he had these gorgeous colours and things, and it just looked really, really, really lovely. So, yeah, he seems to do some exciting cooking. I can't remember what he did for his pudding, actually. Yeah, I can't remember at all, I'm afraid. But anyway, his cooking does look pretty exciting. Now, what I'm going to do, I think, is turn that round that way, so that I can have it, you know, the more is more. I just glue all around this. Yeah, I can't remember what he did. He also, with that jackfruit curry and the chickpea loaf thing, he also made some sort of chutney thing. Well, it wasn't a chutney, but like a mint sauce it looked, but it was, I don't think, a mint sauce. It might have been something else, I can't remember now. But yeah, anyway, his food looked really great, and I would have loved to have tasted it. So I don't know how those judges on that programme stop themselves sometimes from eating the entire plateful, because obviously they just have like a sample, don't they? And you know, they're very restrained, and you know, because obviously they've got to then taste other people's food, but sometimes the food looks so great, I don't know how they restrain themselves. I always think when the camera goes off, do they then just all pig out and, you know, all just tuck into the food? I don't know. I mean, they can't do that all the time, obviously, because they'd be enormous, but they must do that sometimes, I'm sure. I mean, sometimes you do hear them say things like, you know, oh, I could finish that whole plate off. And yeah, sometimes, I think sometimes they might even say, you know, oh, well, I'm going to finish that off now. But yeah, I don't know how they restrain themselves, to be honest, from just eating every single thing. I don't know whether, I mean, obviously I mentioned the BritBox thing. I don't know whether there's other, whether other countries have MasterChef, like, but their own, you know, their own series, i.e. not having to watch our one on BritBox at all. I assume that possibly you guys do have your own. In which case, you probably wouldn't even want to be checking into BritBox, would you? Because you would just be watching your own. You know what I've done? Because now I have been busy talking about that jackfruit curry and that bread, I just forgot to tear it apart, and I've just now cut it through all of the pages that were stacked beneath it. So, honestly, just terrible. That's because I was chatting, and just that few seconds was enough to just be completely distracted with what I was doing. Then cut through the whole thing. As soon as I started cutting, I thought, that feels a bit funny. Yep, cut through the whole lot. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Just going to trim the top down. Yeah, I don't necessarily watch MasterChef. I kind of like just, well, normally it's just I've stumbled across it really. You know, and it's like, oh, that's on. But I do quite enjoy watching it because I do find it just incredible what these people cook. As I say, I tend to actually prefer the amateur ones more than the professionals, which is strange. I couldn't tell you why, but sometimes I actually think the amateurs seem to be better cooks than the professionals also. Okay. Okay. And then again, I just glue this down. And you can just trim this up. And again, I mean, I'm just having to do this because I'm using copy paper. But I mean, obviously what you could do is use, you know, thicker card here for your bottom pocket. And then you wouldn't really be having to stick these together at all because they would obviously be, you know, solid enough. But I'm just obviously using the paper that I've brought along. So, there we go. Well, plus as well, what's quite nice is then you can use like, you know, quite a bit of a sheet of paper or, you know, slash a whole sheet of paper instead of like bits of things, which then result in even more scraps. Even more scraps when the whole point is to, I guess, be using up some scraps. So, you know, using up some book pages, using up some scraps. Right, that's that one. Now let me just check what we're doing time-wise. What is the time? 37 minutes. So we could probably do maybe 2 more before decorating one. So, oops, just got my leg hooked on my carrier bag. Right, let's see if I can be a bit more efficient this time. So if we do 3, so those 3, and then we'll do 3 here. Just pop those to the side. Let's see if we could do all of our folding in one. So, oh look, that's got a picture on that side. I hadn't realised that. That's annoying. I wonder whether I will be covering that up. No. Oh, right, let me put that to one side. I will use that for something else. See, and I thought I was going to be really speedy now, and no, straight away stopped at the first hurdle. Okay, right, let's tear that. All right. So let's do all of our folding this time, and then that one. Just trim that down. I mean, to be honest, I think it's quite interesting because straight away when you come to make something, in fact, let's do one the other way because we've done them all that way, haven't we? I think it's quite interesting because as soon as you come to make things again, you know, like for another time, a second time or whatever, I find it quite interesting that straight away you might come up with different / better ways of doing it. You know, like that pocket on the bottom. I mean, not that I can claim that was my idea, obviously, but, you know, it's quite interesting that actually just by doing things several times, the changes that you can gain from that. So it's always worth having a bit more of a play anyway, I think. Oops. What is going on here? Okay. Because I'm trying to rush now so that we've got time to decorate one. Okay. Just check that I've even... Oh, look at how close together those are. Well, it doesn't really matter, to be honest, but I don't know how that happened. Rubbish, absolutely rubbish. Right, like now I suddenly thought, actually, I could trim that down before gluing the sheet of patterned paper on there. I'm not going to glue it there because I'll just keep those attached for a minute, but that might make it easier still. So, you know, it really is worth just having a play and seeing what changes you can come up with. Well, I mean, I guess that's how, you know, practice makes perfect. And weirdly, you know, you might then go back to your original method and think, well, actually, that was better. So I'm not saying practice makes perfect. Practice might make worse, you know, might make it worse, but it might make it better. You know, I guess it's just worth having a play and seeing, you know, what can happen, or what's, you know, what takes your fancy at the time. I mean, like I said, I had to re-watch my tutorial because I actually couldn't even remember how to make these. And I mean, I must have only done this tutorial. I've done it this year. It's not like something I did years ago, you know, it was literally this year. But already I couldn't remember how to do it. It's just shocking, isn't it? Well, to be fair, I mean, that's just me. Just a memory like a sieve, but, you know. I always remember watching Rachel, and she said she has a an ideas folder, like that she keeps kind of so she can always remember the pockets that she's used. And I'm sure she actually even said that she jots down, you know, sort of goods and bads about them. So, you know, whether they were a good pocket or what she would maybe do differently if she made them again and things like that. And I thought, what a brilliant idea. Just absolutely fantastic idea. I can't say that I have done that yet, but I keep thinking I'm going to do that because that would be so helpful. You know, because then you could really make notes of, you know, handy to fold it in this way, or, you know, handy to cut it first or something like that. You know, things that when you come to remake something, you know, 6 months down the line, or in my case, even 6 days down the line, you just might not remember quite how you did it. So having those little notes to just refer back to can be so handy. Let's just glue that down. Isn't that an ugly font? I know that sounds a strange thing to say, but just as I kind of glued that down, I thought, oh, that looks such an ugly font. Okay. Just glue this one down like that. And as I say, you know, you can obviously stitch these right around the edge on your sewing machine, which would look lovely. So I'm just going to trim that down here at the bottom. Like that. And then we'll just make our pocket here. I'll have to do it, I think. That's a bit annoying because that is going to be upside down. Don't want to obviously have her face like half showing. You know what? I think I'm going to do it that way. Because I didn't want the font completely upside down, but I don't mind it sideways on. So let's do that. And again, what I'll do is just glue that down here. Like that. Okay. Okay, I can't believe the year's flying by already. You know, we're March already. Where has the time gone? It just flies, doesn't it? Literally just flies. You know, it'd be summer before we know it. Well, I mean, that's no bad thing, obviously. But certainly does go quick. Okay, so I'm just going to now trim around here. So just trim this down. Like that. And then we'll just trim up the side here. And I'll just, oh my gosh, look how much I had over the top. I thought, well, that's strange, it looks really long. Obviously forgot that I did that at the top. That's better. Otherwise it was like a really weird long pocket. So I mean, obviously they're a little bit wrinkly at the moment because you know, they're quite wet with the glue, but you know, it will dry fine. Now, did I glue this one? Yay, I did. Right, so I'll just grab another page. Could even use my freebie papers maybe. Oh, I could use this. Just seeing what else I've got here that I grabbed in to do this video. Just got a whole bunch of stuff really. Oh, let's have this on. Yeah, let's have that. So again, I'll just glue this straight down onto here. Okay. Oh, I feel like now the time's probably running away and now I'm just in danger of having a really long video. So sorry about that. I just thought, oh, I'll quickly do like another two, but nothing's ever really quick, is it? Well, nothing's ever really quick for me. I have to say, I'm questioning how speedy I am at crafting, because I've noticed several people now joining in with the 3 and 30s, you know, which obviously I've finished now, but which is awesome that more people are joining in. But I have to say, I seem to be the only person who couldn't keep to time ever. Yeah, so I'm beginning to think I must be like a really dithery crafter, I think. Which I do apologise, because gosh, how tedious to just be watching a dithery crafter, but you know, you don't notice yourself, do you? Because, well, because obviously that's the way you always do it, so it's just the norm. Anyway. Right, so that's that, and I will just obviously trim around there. Wow, I feel like that's just hideously crooked, but oh well, never mind. Right, so we'll just make a little pocket there at the front. Which, this one obviously it was where I did those pockets that are practically the same size, so I've actually got quite a lot of leeway there for my pocket. I'm just going to trim that down here at the side. Like that, okay. And we'll just come up here, across the bottom, and just up there, like that, okay. I'm just going to glue that down there. Okay. Right. Just quickly glue that pocket down like that. Okay, right. There we go. And then we can trim that one around as well. And then we'll just decorate one up just to give you an idea of, you know, decorating. I mean, obviously, again, I did decorate one in the original tutorial. So, you know, apologies if you saw that and this is just a repeat. I think it's nice to do the, you know, the bulk making of them, because I think it does really help you to remember, though, how to do them. So, you know, hopefully, even if it is a repeat, it's hopefully kind of proving useful in some way. Right, let me check now the time and the situation there. Oops, 50 minutes. Right, okay. Okay. Well, I've done abysmally. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. That's just rubbish, isn't it? Yeah, definitely getting worse and worse every week. So let me just see what stuff I've got laying around on my desk. I did bring some of my Curator's collection pieces along, so perhaps we'll go for something with the birds, which I guess we could actually do with the with the background pages for the Curator's collection. So we've got that there. Okay. So I've got some that I've fussy cut out and some that I haven't cut yet. But that's okay. We can kind of mix and match them a little bit. Just having a look to see what ones I've got with that greeny background, because then that just ties in the paper, I think, nicely. So let's have that up there. Then we could have that one there maybe. Okay, let's do that. Now, unfortunately, this glue is quite wet. So when I come to ink this, I think it's not going to like being inked particularly. You know, it's going to turn out with some dark bits. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen too much, but it may happen. So we'll just ink this up here. Okay, like that, and then just trying not to overdo it because obviously of that wet glue, but it is tricky because you know, obviously you do want to ink it, and then trying to ink it but avoid any bits of glue. It's not the best, not the best at all. Right. Okay, right, so I've got that there. So let's just get gluing a couple of bits down so that we're actually, you know, making some bits. Oops. Oh, this is my old glue that's just like oozing out because I had to cut the end off in the end. It was so diabolical. Right, let's just dab that off there a little bit. Otherwise I had really a lot of glue on there. You know, there's hardly any glue in that bottle, but what's in there just is, can't wait to come out. Just oozing out everywhere. Okay, that's that, which looks really nice. There's a couple of words. Oh, look what I've done to that word. So we could have, let's just try tearing that one out. What a shame that I've splodged that with my ink. Oh well, let's just try and rub that in a bit and disguise it a little bit. Oh well, that's looking better now. It's a bit disguised. So I'm wondering if we have that, oops, have that there. And what we could do is, obviously we could have had another bit of background page. I'm just happening to have a look in my bin and see whether it's just at the top, and luckily it kind of was. I mean, this is just my carrier bag that I have to the side, so I mean technically it's not really a bin, and you know, although it sounds awful that I've just rummaged through the bin, it's just a carrier bag. It's not got like food or anything like that in it. It's just got all my scraps of paper, so it's not as terrible as it sounds. So yeah, just tear that around like that. Just because I thought that might be quite nice to bring some of that pretty pink colour in. I'll pop that there. And we could have that word. So again, let me just ink this up a little bit. So we'll just glue this on. And again, I might as well just try and use this oozy glue out now. Oh, it's just pouring out. Okay. That's like that. And then just pop that on there and that there. So I'm just going to pop this one on to that book page section. Oh, look at how much glue is on there. Let me just dab it off again. Sorry, just horrible. Right, pop that down there. Now weirdly, I just had this flower that it just caught my eye. It was kind of floating at the back of my desk. I thought, oh, that's a good colour there for that pocket. So I mean, it's a little bit on the large side to put there. I'm just going to see how much that would get in the way if I were putting things in and out that pocket. Oh, it's not too bad actually. Surprisingly, I thought it was going to be terrible, but yeah. So I'm going to now go for that. Let's just glue that on, and I'm going to put some down each one of those little petals. Well, not each one, but obviously because that glue's pouring out, they're just going to all get covered anyway. Because, can you see, they're very fine, and you know, they're likely to get broken off, to be honest. So it's helpful to actually glue them down as much as I can, like that. There we go. And then as my centre, I'm going to just have that word. Now, just before I pop that word on, I'm just going to see if I've got any other flowers just floating about that I would prefer as like a little centre. So I've got this one, which is still obviously got the leaves attached, which you can probably see. So I'm just going to pull those leaves off. Now the problem is with this is quite a yellow looking flower, and when you ink these up they can just go really bright. So, alright, let's just see. Oh, it's not really quite the right colour, which is a bit of a shame. Although maybe quite nice down there. I need a slightly different colour pink. Let me have another rummage around and see what else I've got laying about here in my pile of mess. No, I've got a lilac one. That's not really right, because obviously there's not really anything lilac on there. Hold on. Oh, what have I got here? Oh, I've got some of those flowers. Could have those. Let's just ink these up. These are just my Vintage Notes flower add-ons. So, but strangely enough, they don't look too bad, do they? Oh, that's just like really odd, isn't it? Oh, that's so annoying, because I would have really liked this, but just kind of not quite right. Let me see whether adding some lace would just improve the look at all. Well, I mean, to me, obviously, lace always improves the look. So let's just trim that down because it's a little bit fat for that piece. So we'll just cut that across. Just see there. Oh, that's quite nice, isn't it? Let's do that. Oh my gosh, my glue is just pouring out now everywhere. Right, let me just dab that off. So we'll pop that there, and that also helps to obviously stick those petals down. We'll just pop this one on here. just dab that off with the dry wipe, like that. Right, I'm just going to use my 3-in-1 to put my lace down on there. Well, I will if it comes out. Come on. There we go. I know that I've said this recently, but I just like to run my finger along because it just takes the, you know, the volume off really, which then stops it being quite so visible through the lace. So there we go. And then should we have that down there? It's still not quite the right colour, so I feel a little bit reluctant to actually commit and glue that on. Let me just have a bit of a rummage quickly and see whether I've got any other flowers here. Oh, sorry, I've just spotted the time now, and yeah, I know over an hour, so I do apologise. No, that's the same colour. Hang on. I've got this one. That one's a kind of lilac. Oh, which is not really right either. Can't really see anything else that's even vaguely suitable. Hold on, what have I got in here? Right, we might have more luck in this little jar. I mean, that's very pink, but oh, isn't it annoying when you can't find quite the thing that you need? You know, you've got everything but. What's this one? This, again, this is a bit of a lilac really, but it might be okay. Just open that out. These are just those mulberry paper flowers that, you know, I tend to just use them in this way now, you know, by just tearing them apart. Okay. Oh dear, I made a bit of a mess of that as well now. Oh, that's not really right either. Right, well, I'm going to spare you the, you know, me hunting for the perfect flower, and we'll just call it quits there, because I'm sure that you, I'm sure you don't need to wait here while I find the flower. But so that's your large pocket. Now, again, I don't have a journal on the go at the moment, but if I just bring in, you know, what would effectively be like a journal page. So you could obviously glue that down onto a journal page like that. And you could glue it down kind of like on 3 sides, like a, you know, side loading pocket. You'd have your pocket there, pocket here, and a pocket obviously here across the front. Or, as I said earlier, you know, what you could do is obviously just cover the back with some coffee dyed paper, or, you know, just plain paper of some sort anyway, just for journaling on. And then you could just paper clip that on and move that around in your journal. So I just think they're really lovely, to be honest. And I quite like something quite large, you know, that's quite nice and sort of big to handle. So yeah, I hope that you like it, and hope you managed to make quite a few, and hope you join me next time. So thanks very much for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks then. Bye.